Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be born in another country, come to another country, have all kind of shit just go haywire, and then go back to another country, totally off the grid, and go off the grid pretty much and restart your life? Today, we have a young lady that done just that. Her story is one of truly travel, but a lot of hills to climb. Let's call it what it is, hills to climb. I'd like to welcome to the show all the way from Medellin, Colombia. I guess I got it right. Ania Halama. Did I get it right?
Close. Halama.
Halama. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Andre. I'm happy to be here.
An interesting name. First, how did that name come about?
So Ania is my Polish name. The last name, apparently it's German. I did an ancestry thing recently-ish. I thought I was Latin my whole life. I live in Latin America. Like, I look a little Latin, Colombian, Latin. Like, I love the culture, the music, the passion. Like, I thought I was Latin my whole life. I was very disappointed when I did my ancestry test. Very European, very Polish. So Ania is my Polish name. It is English is Anna, which I don't like. Anna's so basic and simple.
Right.
I go by Ania.
Okay, it's a very beautiful name. So
Thank you.
You was born in Poland,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
So what's that like growing up in Poland? I mean, I see television shows, but when you see the television shows in Poland, it's always cold.
It is always cold. So I was born in Poland, but I was only 3 when I came to the US. I grew up in Chicago. And I think one of the reasons why Chicago is actually the second biggest Polish population in the world. We have more Polish people in Chicago than we do in our second biggest city in Poland.
Wait a minute.
And I think
Chicago?
the reason...
Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago, next door to you.
Right next to Indianapolis, Indiana. But I know you've gotten older. Your parents are from Poland, correct? They're
Yes.
Polish. Why did they come to the United States? What was the purpose?
So we won the visa lottery. My grandmother was already in America for about 5-6 years before we came there. We applied for the visa, we got the visas, and they just came for a better life for me. I was 3 years old when we came to the US, and my parents are still, my mom's in Chicago, my dad's half in Poland, half in the US, spends time between both of them. But yeah, I didn't grow up in Poland. So like, I am American, I grew up in America, but I have lived in Poland as an adult, which was really beautiful. I didn't live in the city that I'm from originally, on the complete other side of Poland, but it was really nice to reconnect to my roots and like speak Polish at all times, which is really fun. I mean, I speak Polish to my dad, but that's about it. I don't speak Polish at all any of the time, pretty much.
I hear you're right. Your dad is still there in Poland?
Yeah, so my dad spends half the year in Poland, half the year in Chicago.
What is a lottery? Like what is that consists of? You said you guys won the visa lottery? Like what is?
Yeah, so I'm not fully sure what it consists of. Again, I was super young when we received this. So you're like put into a drawing, and then instead of like going through all of the crazy paperwork, this is also in the 90s. So I have no idea what it's like in 2024. I'm sure things have changed. We went into a drawing and then we got our visa. So we were able to come to the US.
So why Chicago?
So my grandmother was there already, but this is what I was saying. I think why Chicago is such a big Polish population is because like climate-wise, it's very similar to Poland. It's cold.
You guys love the cold. So, okay, makes perfect sense. I had no idea. I just learned something today. I had no idea that Chicago has a large population of
massive. So
Yeah.
like we've been in America for 30 years now almost, and my dad speaks no English. Like his barber is Polish, grocery store is Polish, clerk, bank teller is Polish. Like he speaks no English.
What was it like knowing that you grew up in a Polish environment in Chicago? And for those that don't know Chicago, Chicago is Chicago. I mean, it's totally different than any place you ever want to ever been. You know, if you see LA, Chicago is LA, from the traffic to everything. And it's a melting pot of different civilizations that have a tendency to stay in their environment, but they venture out. But it's so culturally woven that is almost like countries within countries. What was it like for you to actually now be in America, in Chicago, and be around your Polish ancestry? But then also, how did you intertwine that with your Americanism?
Yeah, so I mean, I grew up very American. I went to an English school. I also went to a Polish school, which was very different. I felt like I had like two little lives there. So on Saturdays, I was going to Polish school, and then Monday through Friday, I was going to regular English school, as all the children went to. But because we grew up in such a like diverse Polish community, like, there were so many Polish people around us. Like all my friends growing up were Polish. I barely had American friends. It's not until I went to like high school that's like, okay, I started venturing off, because in high school, my sophomore year, we moved to the suburbs, and there it was mostly all American people. But even in the suburbs, I found a lot of Polish people, and I was still hanging out with the Polish crew there.
Really, really. So, like you mentioned, you had some struggles. When did the struggles start to take place in your life? I mean, because I don't. It had to be different going from one school to the next and then learning this language. Was this something that your mom and dad felt there was a need for you to cross pollinize, basically both cultures?
Yeah, so they didn't speak any English. Like I said, my dad still doesn't speak any English. So it was very important for them, for their children to speak Polish and like be immersed in the Polish culture. Plus all of their friends were Polish. All of my friends were Polish. So it was really important for them to have that. But my struggle started about at the age of 10. So my dad was in a work accident when I was 10 years old, and which left him handicapped in one of his arms. He can't move one of his arms. And because we were immigrants, they didn't speak English. I'm the oldest child. I had to go to doctor's offices, legal offices, do all the translating, like learn words no 10-year-old should ever learn. And I had to really grow up quickly, and what I felt like at the moment be like the man of the house, because I was the oldest. We don't have any boys in our family. And that kind of led me over the years of having lots of trauma and resentment around my dad, around having to grow up early, feeling like my childhood got taken away from me because I had to step in, and their income also got taken away. As immigrants, they weren't making a lot of money. Like my mom and dad, they cleaned houses, they worked in a factory, they weren't making a lot of money. So I knew I had to step in and kind of be like a savior of the family at that time. So I graduated high school early, graduated university early. I graduated with my first bachelor's at 19 years old, started working in corporate America when I was 17 years old, and just really got like a jump start to my life and to my career, because I knew I had to help support my family and help them in ways. And things just kept piling on, like the stresses of stuff with my family, the stresses of corporate life, being in the corporate world at such a young age. I dealt with an entire decade of just mental illnesses, anxiety, depression, insomnia. I was going blind. I couldn't eat anything. I had celiac disease. I had horrible IBS. I couldn't go to the bathroom. Just so many things wrong with me. And I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I knew that my health was the most important thing. Western medicine wasn't working for me anymore. I'm like, if Western medicine's not working, like maybe let's try this Eastern thing. I don't know, like this woo-woo weird stuff that people talk about. Maybe this will work. And sure enough, it didn't work, because I didn't have the belief that it's going to work.
Right, right.
And one day I came to a point in my career, and I was butting heads with my manager at this job at this point as well, and there was no room for me to like move up the corporate ladder, so I could either look for a new job or do something crazy. So sure enough, I did something crazy and put in my 2 weeks notice. In those 2 weeks, I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. I packed up my apartment, moved everything into storage, sold my car, quit my job, and I've been pretty much on that one-way ticket for 9 years now. Granted, I do have a home base in Medellin, Colombia now. I've been here for almost 6 years, the last 4 years full time. And I am so grateful that I found that I took that leap of faith, actually. Like, and I have my parents to thank for that, because like they moved to a whole new country by themselves with a 3-year-old at the age of 20. Like I did the same exact thing. Granted, I don't have children, but like they were my inspiration for it.
You said that you went through all of these illnesses and stuff, and you went and spoke with the doctors and stuff. What did they diagnose? What was their treatment plan for you? They just didn't say just get on the plane and go to freaking Thailand.
No, for an entire decade, I was on sleeping pills. I was on anxiety medication. I was on antidepressants. I was having a whole bunch of, I tried different eye drops because I was going blind. I couldn't see anything. Like all these, like my vision was completely blurry. I had to put in hard contacts. Regular contacts weren't working. Like I wasn't able to get any surgery on my eyes because like I just wasn't a candidate for it because my eyesight was so bad. So a whole bunch of different eye drops. Eating wise, I was allergic to almost every single food. I couldn't hold any food down. They put me on like different diets. None of them work. I still couldn't go to the bathroom. I was a mess.
What about your other siblings?
I have a younger sister. She's still in Chicago. She just bought a house recently. Yay, her.
Go through the same type of effects that you did?
No, so we're very different. I'm more extroverted, out there, wild, and she's very like reserved and a homebody, very much a homebody. Like she went away to university an hour away from home, and she drove back like every weekend because she missed her mom. Very different personalities.
You mentioned something that was very crucial in your story, and you said you missed your childhood and you had resentment towards your father. You didn't mention your mom. Who was you close to, and why was there such a strong resentment to your father, considering the fact that your dad got hurt on the job? He was an immigrant, him and your mom, from a whole different country. I guess at that age you probably couldn't register that now, but how strenuous was that relationship with your mom and your dad?
So my mom and I have always been really close. Like she's one of my best friends. I talk to her at least once a week. Like we're still very, very close. My dad on the other side, very different. I went through 5 years of not talking to him at all because I just had so much resentment, pain, and anger towards him. Not only that, on top of like him stealing a lot of money from me. And there's a lot of things that went on with it. It's all written in my book. You guys feel free to like get that shameless plug. Sorry, guys. So I just went through like 5 years of being so angry at him, and I didn't talk to him at all. And that's when I started doing plant medicines, and I started forgiving him and just having love, compassion towards him, and really seeing why he did things to me, why he hurt me, why things happened from a different point of view that I've never even imagined thinking of, which gave me so much compassion, love, and kindness in my heart to be able to forgive him. And then bringing up the conversations, like I'm an adult now, I'm in my 30s, like I can have these conversations with him now. Like we're on good terms now. We're not on amazing terms. Like I don't call him every single day like I do my mother, but I'm very happy with the relationship of where we're at right now. We've healed so much.
What was the 3 things that you really resented the most? Because to not talk to your father for 5 years, this is a 2-part question. What was the 3 things that you remember that really amplified the resentment for your father? And then number 2, 5 years of not speaking to your father, did he even try to reach out to you? And did he even recognize the impact that I guess he was implementing on you?
Yeah, so two things mostly. I'm sure there was more, but two main things. One, I felt like my childhood got taken away from me for all of that I said. Two is my dad stole a lot of money from me, like $100,000 plus some. So, and where I know where that money went from, I'm not comfortable sharing it at the moment, but just him manipulating me and mistreating me, hurting me, like that all went into it. So it was a combination of like, one, I had to grow up really quickly. Two, like, you're hurting me so much. That's what caused me so much resentment where I didn't talk to him for so long. And the second part of that, he was aware of it. He didn't realize how badly it really truly did hurt me. I was also a very different person than I am right now. I didn't have a voice. I didn't know how to bring up these things to my father. I didn't know how to tell him like, oh, you've hurt me. Like, this really upset me. Like, I didn't have that communication with him. Granted, as I've been on my healing path, like I've had those conversations with him now, but at the time I wasn't able to have them. So he wasn't aware of how truly like deep those wounds were.
The wounds were deep, and you mentioned you didn't have a voice, but you also mentioned that you was close to your mom. So did you share these wounds and this pain and silence prayers with your mom? And then if so, what did your mom say? That's her husband. Did she go and speak with him and say, look, you know, you're really causing some effects on our daughter?
Yeah. So when he was stealing the money from me, it started off as like him borrowing $1,000 here, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. And he was always very secretive about it. He was like, don't tell mom, don't tell mom. And then the money started piling up. And then all of a sudden, like, I can't pay for my own school. I can't pay for like just my basic living. And like, it really started like taking an impact on my mental health, like how I was like, I just had crazy anxiety from all of that as well, like internally within myself. And like, I felt like if I don't give my dad this money, he's not going to love me. So there was also that like struggle of like push and pull, like he's not going to love me. I need to do this. Like, I hope it's going to a good cause. I had no idea where it was going to.
I was going to ask you, where was his money going? He wasn't able to work. So was he paying the rent? Was he using the money for food and too afraid to say
he was using it for bad things? So let's just leave it at that. For things that he shouldn't have been wasting money on.
We didn't know that in the book. We know that.
There's more stuff there's more of it in the book.
So you shared it with your mom. So you shared it with your mom. What did your mom do?
Yeah, so there was one day, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I just had so much anxiety and I was so afraid. I asked my mom if we can go on a drive, and she's like, yeah, sure. So we went on a drive and I spilled everything to her. And she was shocked. She was dumbfounded. Like, I had so much fear of even telling my mom because my dad kept saying, don't tell mom, don't tell mom, don't tell your mother. So when I told her, I was like, oh, maybe he's going to be mad. Maybe he's going to punish me. Maybe he's going to, who knows what's going to happen. I just had so much like fear and anxiety around it. And I told my mother, and it just blew up our household. That was not a good thing that happened, but I'm glad that I got it out of the way because my mother needed to be aware that this was happening because she had no idea.
There was nothing. There was most of the stuff that you went through, the trauma part was mostly emotional and probably verbal, I guess, but not physical. Am I correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So now you realize that you need to take control of your health. And now you're going to Thailand. You pack your bags, you sell everything. What was that like for you? Did you have a connection over there? Or you just said, I'm just going. You got off the bus and do what?
Nope, I had no idea. I didn't even know what language they spoke in Thailand when I went there. Like, I'm just like, this is where I'm going. I heard Thailand's going to be great.
I can see why your sister's not like you, because most people are not going to just get on a plane and can't speak the language. Did you have the new iPhone?
No, this was when was this? 2015. So like, iPhones were barely working.
How did you manage to navigate getting off of a plane in a country that you don't even know where you're going to lay your head at?
No idea. So I worked in corporate America for a long time. My background's in graphic design and marketing. So it was really easy for me to transition into the online world with work wise. And I had savings at the time. So I was like, okay, first 6 months, I didn't work at all. I was like, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to party. I'm going to enjoy Thailand. I'm going to enjoy the sun, the beaches. Like, I'm going to have a great time. Maybe like forget all of my troubles back home. And that's what I did. And that's what I needed at the time. And then I was like, I started meeting people and like I was staying at hostels. I was staying at like life in Thailand is so much more inexpensive than life in America. So I was living much better over there and meeting a lot more people. So that's when I started getting into like the healing. I started going to yoga classes more, going to meditation classes. I was like, okay, like I don't need to be partying every single day. Like I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this. And really felt like it was overnight. Granted, it wasn't. It was a couple of months, but me being sick for an entire decade, like that was a long time. So me feeling better over just like a couple of months span, I really felt like it was overnight. And all of a sudden, my anxiety started getting less. I wasn't having panic attacks. I was able to sleep a full night. Like I didn't know what a full night's sleep was. It was so nice. And just slowly started healing myself.
Did you share with your family that you was going to do this drastic move? And what was their take on this? I mean, you're going to a country that you don't know nobody. What was your family's reaction to this?
Yeah, so I had this idea in the back of my head for a few months now, but it wasn't until like this point in my job where I'm like, you know what, screw it. Like I have nothing to lose. I'm young. I'm 24 years old, 25 years old. Like I don't have any kids. If I don't do this now, I'm never going to do this. So why not do it? But I've had this idea kind of like percolating in the back of my head for a little bit. And I've shared, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But it wasn't until that point in my job where I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm actually doing this. And when I told my family, of course, they're like, oh, like, what if you get hurt? What if you don't like it? What if you're even more sick over there? Like giving me all these what ifs. And I just turn around saying like, but what if I heal myself? What if I find love? What if I find myself? What if I love it? What if I learn a new language and like turned it into a positive?
So now you're over there and how long did it take for the hurt to start diminishing because you're in a new environment? When did you realize that it was diminishing?
So the first like 5 or 6 months, it was better, but I wasn't really focusing on my healing. The first 6 months, I kind of just partied a lot, and it was what I needed because I kind of forgot about like my real troubles at that time, which was exactly what I needed at the time. And then so I was in Thailand for an entire year, and then month like 5 or 6, that's when I started going to all the yoga classes, meditation classes, and just really doing the deeper work. And it was about like 2 months that I started feeling better.
When did you find out that you was able to forgive your father through this journey?
It was a while. It wasn't until 2018 when the first time that I did ayahuasca. That's when I actually sat with it and actually forgave him. So it took 3 years from when I left.
You said it took that long. You had to go to what is it, ayahuasca? Is that
Yes.
I pronounce it right?
Yes.
What was that revelation like? Like what came over you? Because you've been putting this in for 24 years or longer.
Yeah. So it was one of the most healing experiences of my life and what got me on the trajectory to where I am today. I will forever be grateful for that first ayahuasca experience that I had. I just gave me so much clarity and so much love, forgiveness in my heart. And it showed me why things happened in my life, why my dad did the things he did, hurt me the way he did, why he got hurt in a completely new perspective that I never even imagined ever in my life. I saw him as a child, him growing up the way he did, which caused him to be the person that he is, which caused him to do things to me. Like I didn't even think of this. It just gave me a whole new perspective, which allowed me to open up my heart and truly sit with it and forgive my father for all of it. Because I understood.
Did you know any of this about your father prior to going to that last part of your that deep part of your meditation?
I had bits and pieces of it growing up, but it's not something I consciously thought about. It was like deep in my subconscious, and that's what was brought up during the ceremony.
When you got that tranquility and you was able to take yourself out of your own environment and put yourself into your father's environment, did you cry at all?
Oh yeah.
In his life?
Oh yeah, so much crying. And it was also a rainy night outside as well. So like the energy of the rain and me crying and just like shedding so many tears, so many layers, and just sitting with the forgiveness. And it was really, really beautiful. And I think it was like about a year later. And that's when like I started opening up the conversations with my dad and started talking to him again later. About a year later, I was working with a healer and my father came up and she's like, "Oh, did you forgive him?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I forgave him." But she's like, "Did you tell him that he like hurt you?" And I was like, "Well, no." And she's like, "Well, you need to close this loop. Like, sure, you forgave him, but he needs to know how much he truly hurt you. Like, it's going to be open unless you do that." And that day I got on the phone with him and I called him and I told him, I'm like, "Hey, this is how I truly felt. This is how much like pain and harm you caused me." And since then, our relationship has been much better.
Did you share with him that you came out of your shell and went into his life?
I shared bits and pieces of it, not too much of it, because granted, I was like, quote unquote, doing drugs in the jungle. So my parents don't need to know all of that.
We'll keep that on the down low.
Yeah, we'll keep that on the down low. I share stuff like that with my mom, and she's like, "Anya, I don't like when you do that. Can you please not tell me about it?" I'm like, "But I had this revelation. I can't wait to tell you." She's like, "Stop."
So now it's a beautiful story. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing that, but we're not done. So now you take another part of your life and you go to Colombia. What took you there and what's that like now for you?
So ayahuasca called me. That's really why I came here. I had the call for ayahuasca for about 5 years before I ever came here. And I'm like, okay, it's time to really like go to South America. This is a calling. Maybe it's going to help me with the stuff with my dad. Maybe it's going to help me with my illnesses that I have, my mental health. I was like, okay, I'm going. So I came to Colombia, and sure enough, within the first few days of being here, ayahuasca, the medicine, found me. And I've been here ever since. I've been working with the medicine, and it just completely changed the trajectory of my life and who I am as a person.
What do you mean the medicine? That sounds kind of scary. The medicine. What is
Ayahuasca, the medicine. It is. It's a psychedelic brew from the jungle. It is a medicine. Granted, not all medicines are for everyone. If you're listening to this, please do your due diligence. But there's celebrities that do it, normal people that do it, and you really have to have a calling for it. Ayahuasca is not for everyone, but it is a medicine. And we say it's a medicine because you heal from traumas, from ailments, mental health. Like I forgave my father. That is a healing that I had to go through with this medicine.
Like, what exactly is ayahuasca? Is it a blend of different herbs? Educators. This show is about educating.
Yeah, so it is a sacred brew made into a tea of sorts. And when I say tea, it is the most vile thing you'll ever put in your mouth. It is not a yummy tea like chai or whatever you're drinking back home. It is not like that. It's very thick, liquidy, and it tastes like bad licorice. So it is a mix of two different plants. So it's the ayahuasca vine as well as either the chacruna or the chalipanga leaf mixed together, brewed for 8 days, sometimes longer, sometimes a little bit shorter, given prayer, really given attention by the person that's making it, by the shaman. And you drink it, and in about 40-ish minutes, it is psychedelic. So you start going into this psychedelic, crazy la la land, like I like to call it. You start feeling different vibrations, different frequencies. Like I start hearing a little bit of a buzz going on, like it's a bee maybe coming, but it's not. Like I just feel hear a different vibration. And then the few times that you drink, and I say she, the spirit of the plant, plants aren't masculine or feminine. This spirit always comes to me as a female spirit. So she always takes me to, the first time she'll bring you to like all of the big things that you need to deal with in your life. For me, the first time that I drank, it was the stuff with my dad. That was such a big pain in my life. Like that was the big stuff going on in my life. And that's what trickled down to all of the other problems that I was having. So she deals with all of the big stuff. And as you keep drinking, like the big stuff's already taken care of. So it's like little changes and shifts that you need to do in your life that you might need to work through. And it lasts anywhere from 2 hours to 8 hours, depending on the brew, how it's made, like what vine they use, what leaves they use, how long they brewed it for. And it's profound. One of the most beautiful things that I've ever experienced, and I've drank over 100 times now. I actually facilitate and serve the medicine now. I'm opening up a retreat center here. Like I said, it completely changed the trajectory of my life.
Do you have to be supervised? You're talking
Yes,
hallucinating.
100%.
I mean, like, I don't know if is it anything like an LSD trip. I mean, like.
Yes and no. So LSD is also DMT based. However, it is lab made. This is from the earth, from the plants. So it is DMT, but it's different, and it lasts about the same as an LSD trip. Just LSD feels very clean. I recently was facilitating an LSD ceremony for someone, and they're like, wow, this is very clean. Like you can tell it's made in a laboratory versus ayahuasca, which is natural plant, and it can take you. You have no idea where it can take you. You definitely have to be supervised. It is not for everyone. Please, if you're listening to this, do your due diligence. Look for a reputable shaman. Look for a reputable like retreat center. Not all shamans are made the same. Just like there's A doctors, there's D doctors, there's A shamans, there's D shamans. Please just do your due diligence.
You mentioned you don't know where it will take you. What does that mean? And I guess that would indicate the need to be supervised. But what do you mean, like you don't know where it's going to take you? That would scare me.
Yeah, it can be scary. And I've had some very dark, scary moments, but remembering that everything is also a reflection of you. So you might be seeing these crazy demons and you might be in literal hell, but that might be a reflection of you. For example, okay, I'm getting suffocated by demons. This demon is suffocating me. Okay, where are you suffocating yourself in your life? Maybe you're in a really bad relationship and you just feel suffocated that you can't get out of this relationship. Maybe that's the mirror that you're seeing. So it's a really good reflection. And sometimes when we're in it, like I'm getting suffocated by a demon. Yeah, that sucks. That might be scary. But when you like take a step back and you realize, okay, what is actually going on? What does this suffocation, like discernment mean? Maybe it's my relationship. Maybe it's my job. I feel suffocated at work. Maybe I feel suffocated by a partner. Maybe I feel suffocated at home. Who knows? Everything is a mirror. And most of the time it is just things that is coming up for you. That's a mirror of how you're actually feeling on the inside.
How clairvoyant is this medicine upon individuals? Like,
so it really depends on both the person to the brew. Some brews are more visual. Some brews are more feeling. It also depends on the person. Me, for example, I'm very clairvoyant. I almost always have visions in all of my ayahuasca ceremonies. Whereas some people, even though we're drinking the same medicine, they're not as clairvoyant and they're more feeling. They're more clairsentient. So maybe it depends on how the brew is made and then as well as the actual person.
This brew, it's not available in the United States, I take it.
So it is underground.
Okay, so it is available underground. But once again, with caution, we tell the people, yes, know who you're dealing with, know who the supplier is, their
yes,
level of education, plants, and so forth.
Ask questions, like be curious about it. Where did the brew come from? Is it brewed ethically? Like, what are the morals of the people that are serving this? Ask questions, like do your due diligence.
Has there been deaths associated with this substance that you know of?
Yes, there has been. However, most of the time where there are deaths associated with ayahuasca, it is because there are different additives or contradictions. One, there's lots of medications that you can possibly be on. For example, SSRIs, antidepressants that do not mix with ayahuasca. If you are not aware of this and you take an SSRI and you take ayahuasca, that is putting yourself into a situation where it might be fatal. Another one is different plants mixed with ayahuasca. For example, tobacco. Tobacco and ayahuasca should never be mixed together. Yes, you can smoke tobacco, but if you're doing an ayahuasca purge and then drinking ayahuasca, if you have any heart conditions or any kind of medical health that isn't appropriate, then it can be fatal and lethal there as well. So again, do your research, do your due diligence.
Your life is definitely one of a beast mindset. To get on a plane, to go to a foreign country and start your life over, forgiving your father, going into his footsteps as a child, coming out on the other end with a smile and rekindling that relationship is definitely a blessing in itself. You're writing the book. Tell me about the book before we wrap up.
So I've written 2 books already. The first one is called Rebel's Guide to Spirituality. The second one is called Women Gone Wild, the Wealth Edition. And my new book that I'm writing is all about ayahuasca. So everything that we talked about today, safety, precautions, me being in the jungle. I just came back from the jungle at the end of last year. I spent 2 months getting initiated into a tribe so I can facilitate and serve the medicine. So it's all about ayahuasca.
Aren't you scared? There's a lot of poison snakes in Colombia, man. I watched them wildlife.
I'm a beast.
I watched them wildlife pictures, man. I don't think I want to get bitten by a viper or something out there, man.
I'm a beast. No fears.
Are you scared of anything out there, or it don't even faze you?
It doesn't faze me. I used to be scared of losing a loved one. I always said that was like my biggest fear. And the dark. I used to be scared of the dark. I'm not anymore. Since I started drinking ayahuasca, all of the ceremonies are done in the dark. I'm not scared of the dark anymore. And then losing a loved one, I'm not scared of that because I just know that they're going to go to a better place. There's a reason, season, and a lifetime people come into your life.
How can the viewers reach out to you? How can they get a copy of the previous books? And once again, when is the new book going to be released?
So everything is on my website, aniahalama.com. I'm on social media at Ania Halama pretty much everywhere. My Instagram is at Ania Travels, and that's ANIA, regular travels.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share such a beautiful story. I hope nothing but beautiful things continue to happen to you and bring that vibration throughout the world. You're definitely a beast in my book. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.